What is going on, guys? Bruin Steel here. Welcome back to another WWE broadcast. I'm your host, Bruin Steel, and I'm joined by Canadian Yorker. And tonight we are recapping the Monday Night Raw that took place on April 28th, 2025, and it took place in Kansas City, Missouri. And it is the road to Backlash, which is taking place May 10th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So, yeah, Canadian Yorker, how's it going tonight?
First of all, I just want to say that it's going great today. I can't complain. I'm feeling a lot better. I apologize for not being on that past broadcast. In the last broadcast with Blue and Steel, I had some, I feel like I'm coming out with a cold, but I'm really being affected by allergies. Second of all, I want to say since it was in Kansas City, Missouri, go Kansas City Royals. I'm a big Kansas City Royals fan, and I'm hoping my Kansas City Royals will be able to make it to the World Series this year.
All right, so let's get started with Monday Night Raw. We see Braun Breaker, Paul Heyman, and Seth Rollins making their entrance. The new trio that we saw the shocking Braun Breaker joining Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. Seth Rollins says he welcomes us to Monday Night Rollins and said he knows it's a little difficult for those of us who wants to chant for CM Punk and for those of us who still wants to put our fingers in the air for Roman Reigns, but this year is the future of the industry. He runs down a long list of people who the future is not, and says with Paul Heyman to his left and Braun Breaker to his left, the future of his industry runs through Seth Rollins. They get interrupted by Sami Zayn. Seth asks if he caught WrestleMania, and Sami says he did. It was really good, and they've been friends for a long time, right? Seth agrees, and Sami says he felt the need to come out here and tell him to the face that all this is a load of crap, man. Rollins asks what he means, and Sami asks how much time he spent talking about Punk and Reigns, and then the one thing those guys had in common is standing over his shoulder now. Rollins looks confused, and Sami puts the bang on it and asks how is he supposed to be different from CM Punk, and maybe this is a deep-seated hatred for Punk with just jealousy and he just wants to be in the position he was. Seth says he's not CM Punk or Roman and this is his vision for the future. The two of them have talked about their vision for the future many times and this is it. Sami points out what a coincidence, what a con- Sami Zayn points out what's a coincidence that this is the vision revolved around him. Seth Rollins says that he's just the best man for the job, and Sami Zayn said he's a hypocrite, and this is just a bloodline with his Wiseman and his little dog. Sami tells Braun that if he keeps looking at him like that, he's going to get his face kicked in. Sami Zayn tells everyone to calm down and asks what all this is. Sami came out here to be honest, so he'll be honest in return, and this is a vision for the future, and either you're with them or you become a target. Seth said it's not a threat. He doesn't want that, and it doesn't matter if he hates him or love him like that. He does. If he stands in the way, he'll be a target. He doesn't want this to come to blows, and Heyman can pull some strings to get Sami Zayn moved off of Raw if they have to, since clearly he's not buying it. So maybe they can cash him out. He keeps he keeps saying that it's not a threat, and it keeps threatening Sami, describing it as an offer, a favor, and that he should just think about it. But they need an answer by the end of tonight. So wow, Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins together. Wow, but this time Seth Rollins the heel, and this is gonna end badly for Sami. So what are your thoughts on that segment? The opening segment with Braun Breaker, Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn.
So here's what I think about this segment. After what happened with Roman Reigns getting attacked by Braun Breaker and um and 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 uh and Sammy and Seth. Um, I think it would have made sense if Sammy and the Usos came out and they're talking back and forth with Seth and Braun Breaker, or we could have Sammy. I know Jay Uso is doing his thing, but a little bit would make sense if it's Sammy and Jimmy went out and talked about how what he did for him was wrong, blah blah blah. But for Sammy to come out, man, it just doesn't make sense because Sammy is there sticking up for CM Punk, but he's not sticking up for Roman Reigns. I mean, he should be, in a sense, doing that. He should be sticking up for both of them. I mean, the Usos and Jimmy and Jay ought to feel a way about how Paul Heyman, what Paul Heyman did to Roman was dirty. I mean, how is it a fact that you don't have the other bloodline members, the other OG bloodline members upset with Paul Heyman after what he did to Roman and betrayed Roman? He not only betrayed Roman Reigns, but he betrayed Jay Uso and Jimmy Uso and Sami Zayn. They should all be upset with Paul Heyman. I mean, we should be seeing this this explosion of vengeance against Paul Heyman after what happened, but Sami Zayn's coming out like this is no big problem whatsoever. You know, it just doesn't make sense to me. It just feels like it's sort of the same situation that happened last year. Um, and it's just the same situation happening again this year. He's like this is sort of like a deja vu moment. Um, you know, I don't get this whole storyline where this is going, but I guess maybe WWE has a point in telling us about what's going on. So, but I think that this could be done a bit differently.
All right. All right, so moving on to the first match of the Monday Night Raw, we got Rhea Ripley going one-on-one with Roxanne Perez. Roxanne rolls under and bails to the floor for her breezer before things even start. Back up on the apron, back inside, rolling right back out, trying to get Rhea Ripley hot, throwing her entrance vest at her and bum rushing her with a chop block, putting boots to Rhea, another chop block uppercut. Big boot from Rhea sets up a razor's edge, but Roxanne uh, slips out to the apron. Back inside, La Castatrora blocked, roll through, leg picked and hamstring kicks, and Rhea Ripley kicks her away. Roxanne Perez with a leg kick and drop kick. Rhea crashes to the floor. Suicide dive from Roxanne on Rhea, throwing her into the barricade. Roxanne with the comeback, pulling Rhea's leg, wild right hands, pulling the leg again. Side Russian leg sweep counters, and Rhea Ripley drops her with a big lateral. Roxanne boots up, caught in the crossbody, translated to a suplex, and Rhea drops her out of the ring. Perez in control, picking the leg. Rhea Ripley was desperate up kicks to break free, duck under, short arm laterals, rolling soul butt up for it. Razor's edge. Penalty kick follows only two. Gilia comes to ringside. Roxanne gets a near fall in a small package. Head scissors, driver, cartwheel, knee draw, drop. Pop Rocks countered a rear blaster with a kick and eyes up Gilia, drawing her to the ring. Perez takes advantage and he eats a headbutt, pump handle. Gilia runs in with a chop block and Nature takes his course. Rhea Ripley defeats Roxanne Perez by disqualification. Post match, Perez and Gilia beats Rhea down, but for a beat, but Io Sky makes the save. A little bit of back and forth, and eventually the baby faces stand tall. So, yeah, what a cheap way to get out of this match. Gilia from NXT comes in, attack Rhea Ripley, and as a result, Rhea Ripley defeats Roxanne by disqualification. Io Sky comes in and saves Rhea. So yeah, tension between Io and Rhea since their WrestleMania match. So what are your thoughts on Rhea Ripley defeating Roxanne by disqualification?
I think that I loved how Roxanne Perez was when she was introduced into WWE. When she came in, she was just on fire. She was the one that like she was able to do moves, and she's good. She's really good. She proved her worth at NXT, and it just is about her time to be joining the WWE roster and performing full time on the WWE roster. But maybe she's going back to working in NXT to do what she needs to do before she moves it up. Um, it would have been good to see the outcome of this match between Roxanne and Rhea Ripley because, Roxanne I obviously hasn't tested herself against Rhea, and pretty becoming a pretty good wrestler. Rhea Ripley can it just would make sense for Roxanne to get to win without getting help from Rhea. I know Gilia got involved, and it just makes sense that Roxanne and Gilia need to um, you know, to continue to improve from NXT as they're coming up from NXT to WWE. You know, I was just want to say, was it really necessary that Io Sky had to come out and help Ripley against Roxanne and Gilia? It could have been someone else, honestly, because Rhea Ripley suffered a loss. Her and Bianca Belair both suffered a loss to Io Sky. I don't get it. Why would Io Sky want to save Rhea Ripley? When she was getting beat down by Roxanne and Gilia, that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It would have made sense if someone else had come in to just help Rhea Ripley against Roxanne. And but Io Sky coming out, man, it just doesn't really seem right to me on the surface.
All right, so moving on to the next segment, we got Logan Paul, your favorite guy. We got Logan Paul making his entrance and getting on mic. He calls the coward stupid at some lengths and says main event Jey Uso does not look like a legend and he's done everything in this industry except win a world title. So Uso's days are numbered because he got something Logan wants. He gets interrupted by main event Jey Uso. He says we're gonna silence this noise because Paul thinks he's just gonna hand over his title over to some punk ass YouTuber. Stop. He gets real. He watched Gunther beats his twin to a bloody pulse and that did something to him. It lit a fire that's never going out. This title isn't given, it's earned, it's his, and if you want it, come take it, yeet. Logan makes a big dramatic show of rolling his eyes and tells Uso he sounds stupid, and this is how it's gonna go. He's gonna take the title, and Jay will do what he does best, crash out, screw up, and lose in less time than he held the Intercontinental Championship. So enjoy it while you can. Uso takes him out with a super kick. So we might be getting Logan Paul versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. And what happens if Logan wins? That'd be funny.
I do not want Logan Paul to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Logan Paul, like I said before and many times before on this podcast, Logan Paul absolutely does not deserve to get any championships right now because he has not earned it. He's not proved it. He just basically walked in and got a free pass to be a WWE wrestler because he's a famous person, a YouTuber. You know, excuse my voice. Um, it just doesn't make sense that Logan Paul gets a chance to get a shot at the WWE title. I mean, to me, it makes more sense to have someone else take that opportunity to get that shot because they earned it and they proved their worth. But for Logan Paul to get it, man, that's not happening. If Logan Paul becomes a challenger to challenge Jey Uso for the title, I'm picking Jey Uso to retain his championship. That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
What would you do if Logan beat Jay?
That's not happening. It's not happening whatsoever. I know that.
Better be careful, you might be wrong.
As long as I live, this is not happening.
Alright, moving on to the next match. We got Judgment Day. Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Welcome back, JD McDonough versus the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar. The New Day are on commentary. Ivar on the wrong side of town. Quick tags. Eric gets in and they lay McDonough out and throw him to the floor with double teams. War Raiders distracted by New Day, but they are still fed. Judgment Day off, scooping in a slam, slamming Ivar into JD. Tag made, and the Warbeard goes to the floor for a freight train crossbody, and McDonough sidesteps and he crashes into the LED boards. The War Raiders fired up. Finn sidesteps Ivar, but eats a Valley drop. Reverse roundhouse for JD. Fired up for the War. Bronco Buster lays Balor out. Up top for the moonsault, but Finn rolls out of the way. McDonough hits a moonsault of his own on the Warbeard, but Eric breaks it up. Taking Judgment Day out to the floor, New Day telling Albert how to do the deal, and he throws Balor into them, and then freight trains the whole pile. JD with a jawbreaker to get away from Eric, while Carlito runs interference with the Apple. JD McDonough up top, but Penta appears to shove JD down with the referee distracted. Tagged Ivar up in the race lock. War Machine on JD McDonough. The War Raiders defeat the Judgment Day by pinfall. So what a win for the War Raiders. Penta helping out, even odd for the interference. What are your thoughts on the War Raiders defeating the Judgment Day?
that is a great win for the War Raiders because they definitely deserve to get another title shot. They definitely deserve to get a rematch against the New Day. Um, I mean, honestly, because the Judgment Day, they try to win by numbers, but they just don't have like I've been saying that they just have lost their luster. They've lost the ability to be an intimidating faction because they lost Damian Priest. They don't have Damian Priest in there. They don't have that guy that is Damian Priest there that is big and tough and intimidating for them. And so, they lost. So that sucks for the Judgment Day. Um, and Eric, I don't see, Finn Balor and Jaden McDonough are not getting their tag team titles back for some time because the New Day is the tag team champions. You got the War Raiders. There's just so many other good men's tag teams that can challenge the Judgment Day for the titles. To become the challengers for the titles. So the Judgment Day, honestly, the I would say that the timeline for this group is definitely in a countdown mode. I'm definitely thinking the Judgment Day is going to implode. Probably sooner rather than later, but we'll have to see how it's going to play out.
All right, so moving on, we got Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch making her entrance and getting on the mic. She says Bailey got attacked and taken out of the WrestleMania match, but there will be no week-long investigation. She reviewed the footage, and Becky Lynch said that she's the one that attacked Bailey. I knew it. I knew it. She tells the crowd not to feign outrage and act like the bad guy and said Bailey has attacked her repeatedly since 2019 and has never apologized to her. She mocks Bailey for whining about not being a biggest star and says she got to see what a bigger star looks like when she walked down the aisle at WrestleMania. That brings to Lyra Valkyria, and the enemy of your enemy is your friend works the reverse, and the friend of yours enemy is your enemy. She tries to save her, tried to get her to ditch that bitch, but she sure wouldn't have won the tag team titles with Bailey, but she already compressed, already a loser. Becky gets interrupted by Lyra. She said she got caught up in a stupid fairy tale dream about winning Irish tag teams at WrestleMania, and she doesn't know how it took a manhandle slam after manhandle slam, but she finally see it now and knows exactly what she is. Delusion of Becky Lynch. She's gonna make her pay for what she did to her and Bailey. And as she gets in the ring, Becky bails. Lyra taunts her and asks if she's thinking about how she beat her for the NXT Championship last time they fought. 1-1. Lynch said for now on, she only fights when it matters, and it does not matter in Kansas City. Valkyria says she should have seen that coming, so fine then. Backlash, and she bets that Becky will only do it with the title on the line, so she's on. Lynch tries to welcome her to a big time, but Lyra cuts her off and says she made herself matter and not she's not interested in becoming the next Becky Lynch. She's going to be a better person and she already knows she's a better wrestler. Lynch starts screaming abuse at her and Lyra cuts her off with a dropkick and throws her into the ring for a brawl. Becky bails and runs through the
Yep, go
crowd.
ahead.
But when Lyra ends the segment, when Lyra makes her way out, Becky cheap shots her on the stage. So yeah, Becky versus Lyra is official for Backlash for the Intercontinental Championship. What are your thoughts?
This is a great storyline. The thing is, I don't like how the situation turned out, with WrestleMania, and it just still bothers me, with how things turned out. I think that the storyline could have really, really been fleshed out before WrestleMania, and then building up to WrestleMania it should have happened the way it happened, you know. But I feel like with the storyline with Becky and Lyra and Bailey, it seems like it's a situation that is um that is basically like Jade Cargill situation and Naomi and Bianca. It feels like what happened with those girls Bianca with Bianca with Bianca and Jade and Naomi. It really seems like it's sort of the same thing with Bailey, Lyra, and Becky. Because I'm just comparing this and looking at it from an analytical mindset. Um, you know, I think it's good that they should have just shown it and seen so we could see Becky attacked Bailey because Bailey didn't. Becky is correct. Bailey didn't actually apologize to Becky for what she did with her when she was in damage control. That is true, and this is Becky's way of doing retribution against against Bailey. But here's the thing, though: it just happened so fast, and it's just so quick. It's just a quick turnaround. It wasn't a lot of time wasn't given to put the story together and to give it some substance. It just seems like with this quick turnaround that Lyra is asking for Bailey, for Becky. She wants Becky to be her to be the challenger against her at Backlash. It just seems so rushed, and Backlash is only a week or two away. Um, so there's not enough time to allow the story to be fleshed out. But now that Lyra is saying she wants Becky to be her challenger at WrestleMania, I mean, sorry, at Backlash, it kind of gives it this storyline some more substance, but at the same time, um, Becky and Lyra, they are from the same country. They do have some sort of kinship and country because they're both, from the same country. But at the same time, Becky Bailey is Lyra's friend. Um, so that's just the way how I'm seeing it from my perspective.
All right, so moving on to the next match, we got Ivy Nile going one on one with Stephanie Valkyria from NXT. She is the women's NXT champion. I don't know why she's been on Raw the last couple of weeks. I guess she's gonna get called out as well. But certainly, Nile declines to test the strength, double leg front Chancery rolling Stephanie around, cover for two. Stephanie with a go behind, bridging O'Connor roll, cover for two. Ivy with a kick, side headlock, wedging it in, shot off shoulder block, drop down shoulder block. Stephanie going for Devil's Kiss, but Niles slips out, pulling her back in the surfboard. Stephanie reverses and hit Devil's Kiss. Um, More Devil's Kiss from Stephanie. Corner knees covers. Chad Gable puts Niles' foot on the ropes out to the floor to confront him. Ivy cuts her off with a German suplex. Back inside, kick into the corner. German suplex with a bridge. Stephanie kicks out. Ivy Nile up top. Stephanie cuts her up, climbs to join her. Jockeying for position. Stephanie hits a suplex for two. Slugging it out forearm for their knees and to their feet. Stephanie wants SPP. Nile counters with a slam. Caught on the top rope. Stephanie hangs her leg in the ropes and hits the dragon screw. Unhooked follow. Stephanie hits the SPP to win. Stephanie Vacker defeats Ivy Nile by pinfall. What are your thoughts on Stephanie defeating Ivy Nile?
Um, I think this is a good matchup. Ivy Nile and Stephanie definitely going at it. Stephanie is the winner from this matchup, and it's good. Ivy Nile, we have not really seen much from Ivy Nile because she's been out for some time, but now she's back. She's doing her thing. I don't get why Chad Gable was there to assist Ivy Nile to get the win because Ivy Nile basically uh, she basically choked out Maxine Dupree and once, and Ivy Nile can handle her own. She doesn't need help from Chad Gable to be her distractor to help her win, get wins. Obviously, Ivy Nile can take it, can handle things herself. So that's just the way I'm seeing it.
All right, moving on. All right, moving on. We got Michael Cole apologizing for getting Pat McAfee in trouble with Gunther last week, but it's important in his job to be able to share opinions, and he replays Gunther's confirmation. Cole informs us that Adam Pearce has suspended Gunther indefinitely and fined him an undisclosed amount of money. Pat McAfee said it's time for him to address the issue, and he climbs up on the announce table and grabs a microphone. He talks up Kansas City and says people have forgotten who the hell he is. He had such a successful career on the microphone that he thinks he even forgotten who he is, but he looked into the mirror and saw that he's still that dog that was born in Pittsburgh. to a father working paycheck to paycheck. He's been lucky to be blessed with great friends and to go from an irrelevant bum to someone who's known in almost every city. He's not especially talented, but he's not especially handsome. But when he dies and he's 6 feet in the dirt, he hopes people say he worked his ass off, not just because of himself, but for his friends, his family, and his community, and that people say that he has been in past. He was a empathetic man who gave millions of dollars to hospitals and helped homeless shelters and LGBTQ communities and local schools. Pat said he hopes that they say he left the world better than when he came into it. And last but not least, when he's dead, he's gone. He said that he was a loyal motherfucker, and there's one man who's been with him since they met, and he just happens to be the greatest of all time, Michael Cole. He'll be loyal to Cole until he's in the soil, and if someone's got something with him, they got something to do with him too. And then that's when Austrian also got into Michael's face. He had no choice but to step up for his boy, and seen himself choked out all of the internet, and he got people saying he shouldn't have done that to a former Jamie Bryan. But McAfee said, "Fuck that. He dies. He dies." You got a problem with Michael Cole, you got a problem with Matt McAfee, and he calls SmackDown versions of Adam Pearce down. Nick Aldis says he knows that Pierce lets chaos reigns, but he's in charge tonight, and he does things differently. Pat knows this isn't the time and place for this, but since he called him out, he's here, so make it quick, make it professional. Pat says he doesn't like that Gunther isn't here, and he wants the suspension lifted in a fight against the ring general ASAP. Aldis said he has a feeling he asked for that, and he talked with Pierce on it ahead of time, and the suspension will not be lifted. The two of them are far too valuable to the company, and they can't take the risk. But he has an alternative. They can lift the suspension, and McAfee can get hands on Gunther in a sanctioned contest in the WWE ring. Pat McAfee versus Gunther, 101 at Backlash. Why? I don't understand that. Why are they doing that? Pat, you're going to get destroyed. Pat McAfee accepts the deal, drops the mic, and sits back to the commentary desk. What are your thoughts on that? I absolutely hate this decision. Like, Pat's just going to get himself killed.
I don't understand it either. This does not make any sense whatsoever. I don't get the fact why would Gunther attack Michael Cole and Pat McAfee for no reason whatsoever. Because does he even like? I'm pretty sure he doesn't like Pat McAfee and Michael Cole because he sees how they are. They talk about him and they're commentators. But for commentators to get involved in WWE matches, they should have an actual wrestler. Gunther should be challenging Jey Uso. We should have Gunther be re-challenging Jey Uso for a chance to get his title back at Backlash. When instead of getting this match at Backlash, I mean, what in the world is WWE thinking? What is creative thinking? Where in the world is Gunther going, man? He should be challenging this guy. This guy is the guy that was on the same level as Roman Reigns at the Intercontinental title. He held the Intercontinental title for 3 years. It would have been 4 if he hadn't lost to Sami Zayn, and for him to go from to him to win the Intercontinental title, then he pretty much almost beats everybody for the World Heavyweight Championship, and then he goes from losing his title at WrestleMania to Jey Uso to now challenging somebody on the commentary on the microphone. I mean, what is this? What is this? Why is this happening? This just does not make any sense whatsoever. This is just terrible booking, terrible creative, terrible.
All right, so moving on. We got Seth Rollins in the ring to receive Sami Zayn's decision on the offer he made. He gets on the mic and tells Sami he'd love for him to come on down and talk this out. Sami Zayn makes his entrance. Rollins says he thought about it a lot, and before Sami Zayn shares his decision, he wants to be heard out. Sami is putting him in a tough spot, and they go way back, and for the life of him, he doesn't want anything to happen to Sami. 20 years of friendship, and last week he saw Sami celebrate with Jey Uso, and today he thought he was going to get the same respect. He knows Sami Zayn doesn't agree with it, but Seth and Bron and Heyman, that is the way forward, and he believes it with his whole heart that this is the best future for WWE, and that Sami doesn't believe him, that hurts. The business tears friendships apart, and they've both been on both sides of that, and all said and done. How many true friends can you count in this business? Less than five? For Rollins, Sami is one of their true friends. When his girl was born, Sami was one of the first person he called, scared out of his wits, and Sami gave him some of the best advice he ever gotten, and he's forever be grateful for that, and he'd like to return that favor and give him a piece of advice that could save his life. Seth tells him to take the past, take a way out before, because if he stays on Raw and he doesn't believe in Seth Rollins, bad things will happen. He loves Sami, but doesn't want to happen, so he's begging him to take the out. Sami takes the long, slow moment and tells Seth that if he hurts his feelings as a friend, he's sorry. Everything he said is true. They're very good friends. Their kids play together, and outside that ring, that's all true. But everything Rollins says inside the ring, he thinks he's playing games, and Seth is really good at that stuff. And that's part of why he's in the position he is. And because they're close, he knows exactly what card to play. How that one thing that includes them, the WWE Championship, how that tears at him, and now he's dangling that in front of him. Friend or not, has Seth ever known him to run away? Rollins talks about hurt feelings. He's not going to stand here and be threatened by his friend. Because that's what's happening here. He's being threatened with being a target, but guess what? He's been a target 1,000 times before. He can't live with being backlisted, backballed, extorted, and strong armed, and he won't be threatened. He will win a world title, and when he does, it won't be because of any favor. It's because he did it this his way, and he did it the way right. So as a friend, he respects and loves Seth, but he can go to hell. Rollins closes his eyes in consternation as Braun Breaker's siren goes off, and he makes an entrance flanked by Paul Heyman. So, interesting segment with Seth Rollins and Sami. What are your thoughts?
I think Sami is getting pulled over to Seth's side, and Seth is really making Sami think about how does he really want to stay and win the World Heavyweight Championship and become a champion one day. I believe Sami Zayn definitely he could definitely win and become a champion for sure as a face. But let's be honest. When was the last time we saw him as a heel? Obviously, that must have been when he was with the Bloodline, right? Um, so it's kind of tough to say, especially with Sami Zayn. His championship wins and defeats have been, okay. He did take a brutal beating at the hands of Kevin Owens in Toronto, so that was a tough one for Sami to lose, but Kevin Owens came out on top. Um, it's really tough to say what's going to be the next step going forward for Sami Zayn. And I think it is kind of interesting with Sami Zayn to do that. But I would say that does Sami Zayn have that sort of let's just think about it. Sami Zayn, how well is he known outside of WWE? He is one of one of the best known WWE wrestlers outside of WWE, but he is not on a superstar status like The Rock and Roman Reigns. He's not a superstar. He is getting there, but he is not on that level. He's not on a John Cena type of level. So, what kind of impact is Sami Zayn going to have? If he were to join Seth's side, what kind of impact would he have, and would he be relevant? I don't know. Um, it's kind of tough to say.
All right, and moving on to the main event, which is Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn 101. Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn. Braun Breaker rushes Sami, shoulder thrust in the corner and belly to belly suplex. Sami uppercuts in the corner, diving double axe handle. Boot in the corner, smashing Braun into the turnbuckle. Another axe handle caught into a belly belly suplex, choking Sami in the ropes. Big knees up and over, and Sami drops him with a lateral for some breathing room. Passing Breaker to the floor, Braun bounces him off the announce table and springs up to the apron, diving lateral off the apron and over the announce desk as Rollins looks on expressionless. Jockeying for position in the turnbuckles, Sami Zayn lands the avalanche sunset flip powerbomb. Nope, Sami looking for a corner exploder, denied knuckle lock, overhand chop, big step up tornado DDT, still just a near fall. Back in the turnbuckle, Breaker with a Frankensteiner lining him up. Spear counters with a front kick Corner exploder connects. Sami Zayn is fired up, laying in wait, charges in. Braun Breaker cuts him down with a spear. Second spear, no cover. Sami rolls out to the apron and Seth Rollins advances and gives him one more chance to take the deal and leave for SmackDown. Sami Zayn, gasping and choking, leans into Seth's face and tells him to go to hell. Pulling himself to his feet, Breaker was ahead of steam, a third spear, and Sami falls out of the ring. Referee goes out to check on him and calls for medics. Braun Breaker defeats Sami Zayn by referee stoppage. Seth Rollins walks up to the ring and gives Braun a nod, and Breaker gets heads of steam around the ring, a fourth spear to an already injured Sami Zayn. Michael Cole begs Paul Heyman to call him off, calls for Seth Rollins to do something, but they both stand by as Braun Breaker continues passive destruction. Back in the ring, the referee covers Sami up and calls for the bell to make it perfectly clear. Referees and medics and road agents swarm. Road agents JD Mobile backs Braun off and Seth Rollins takes him to the corner and says, "Tonight is his first lesson, and there are people that deserve their empathy and compassion, but Sami made his bed, and Rollins hits his curb stop on Sami Zayn to finish the beatdown." And that's the end of the show. What are your thoughts?
You know, I kind of figured that Braun Breaker would get a win against Sami Zayn because let's face it, Braun Breaker lost his title to Sami Zayn. I think that Braun Breaker took it personal and definitely made it sure that he's going to write off Sami Zayn for some time. So it's definitely going to be a while for Sami Zayn before he's out. Um, Sami. Oh, Sami could definitely win against Braun Breaker. We've seen him win once before, but man, he just got destroyed in this matchup against Braun Breaker, and Braun Breaker was too much for him. Um, it was a tough loss for Sami Zayn, unfortunately. And on top of that, Braun Breaker also got the best spear out of his life from hitting Sami Zayn and just messing him up. Additionally, Seth Rollins, is not trying to make it personal, but with Sami, but at the same time, uh, Seth Rollins is now targeting everybody. He took out CM Punk and Roman. Now he's going after Sami Zayn. Honestly, I think that this is good because we have a storyline building up between Seth and Sami, which is good. I want to know is this really going to help Sami Zayn's character in a way, and also in a way help out CM Punk? Um, that would make it interesting regarding in this regard, but only time will tell. I know Roman Reigns is going to be coming back for revenge against Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, so there's a lot that could happen.
All right, so that would do it for Monday Night Raw. And in terms of our grading, I like this show. Honestly, it was great. There were some matches that were made me scratch my head, obviously, but they were too bad. I'm giving this show a B plus.
I'm gonna give it a. It wasn't too bad a show. I'm gonna give it a B as well, because I don't think Logan Paul, you are not winning the World Heavyweight Championship. So I'm giving this show. I'll give it a B.
All right, so that would do it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this broadcast. My name is Bruin Steele. This is Canadian Yorker. If you haven't done so, like, subscribe, check out Canadian Yorker's YouTube channel. Link will be in the description, as well as our wrestling channel, which is WWE Wrestling Bros. That link will also be in the description of this video as well. But anyways, it is the road to Backlash 2025. It'll be streaming on Peacock, I believe, May 10th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So be sure to check Backlash out. There's already been three matches announced: Gunther versus Pat McAfee, Randy Orton versus John Cena, a rivalry renewed, and then Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. So yeah, take it easy, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. Any last thoughts before we hang it up tonight, Gene? The Canadian Yorker?
Nope.
All
No.
right.
No.
All right. That would do it, guys. Take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your night. See you guys later.
See you later.